Stood here for our Christmas special with a brass band and guests, how much life would change. A year ago, none of us had heard of COVID-19, but by March, of course, everything had changed completely. And our health correspondent, Jill Dummigan, has been following the pandemic right from the start. You will have seen her reports over the course of the year, and she's been back to catch up with some of the people that she's met over the past few months.
At the beginning of the year, over the other side of the world, reports were starting to emerge of a strange new respiratory condition.
So I remember probably the first or second week of January, one of my critical care consultants forwarded an email with around an article around an interesting new form of pneumonia that was becoming evident in China.
The virus started to spread. Hospitals in China became overwhelmed. In Darwen, sisters Pauline and Susan also began to notice the news.
I was watching it quite closely because I could see it coming over to Europe, and then I knew it would come to the UK.
How did you feel when you were watching it?
Scared.
The virus continued across Europe into London, and by late February...
Our top story, a school and health centre in Buxton are closed as the region's first coronavirus case is confirmed.
By March, hundreds of people were starting to arrive at the region's hospitals.
In all my time on critical care as a nurse, I have never experienced anything like this, ever experienced anything like this.
That was a bit like a tsunami. I don't think any of us were mentally or emotionally prepared for just how ill patients became and how quickly they became ill.
Susan started to feel ill at the end of April, as did their mum, Sheila, who she lived with.
When the paramedics come, it was like one were dealing with my mum and one were dealing with me. But I did say to him, have we got COVID? He said, I'm not sure. And that's really when it hit me.
Both ended up at the Royal Blackburn, where it quickly became clear that Sheila wasn't going to survive.
It was hard, because she asked me if she was dying, and I had to say, yes, you are.
Pauline phoned me up. I think about 1:30 that day, wasn't it?
It was 1:30 that day. Because Susan was on oxygen, they had to close all the corridors off to move Susan down. I think you got down at 2:25.
Yeah, about 2:15, I think.
And Mum died at 2:30.
Yeah. Then they took me back to the ward and I just cried.
Even now, we're just not used to the volume of death. You know, we've had days in the last 3 or 4 weeks where we've had 5 patients die before midday on a shift.
Even now?
Even now, yeah. Yeah, the disease has not got any less evil.
Throughout the summer, the virus lingered here. By the autumn, a second wave was well underway, beginning in Liverpool.
Having to do all this again, it's just really tiring and really upsetting.
We're overwhelmed, and it's not winter. It's not even winter yet, and look at us.
By December, finally some good news, a vaccine.
I think today is really a history-making piece of work, and we're very, very proud to be involved with it.
Just go along and get it done. It's all for the best. It's all for our future.
The hope is that by the spring, life could look much better. But first, there's the winter with a new mutation. Can you see an end to this?
Yes, but I'm not quite sure when. I see a really busy January. I hopefully see that by February and March we'll start to see an impact of the vaccine.
Pauline and Susan have now marked the year with a memorial bench for all those bereaved by COVID.
It's just somewhere for you to come and reflect and just sit and just have some quiet time, some peace. It's been a hell of a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're still here.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people aren't. We're still here. And we're going to carry forward. We're going to go forward. We have to.
You've got to go forward. You can't go back.
Well, Jill's here now, and Jill, it's remarkable when you look back at the year how everything developed.
Yes, who could possibly have predicted all of that? And that's what this year's really been about, hasn't it? People trying to outwit the unpredictables. The virus spikes, we have a lockdown, we start rolling out a vaccine. It mutates, although hopefully that won't actually change anything with that. Now, what has remained a constant are the incredible people who've been fighting this, the NHS staff who've gone in day after day to deal with really difficult situations, the care home staff who stayed for weeks with residents to protect them, and of course those people developing and rolling out those vaccines. They are all saying the same thing. There is some light at the end of the tunnel, but until then people need to stay safe, they need to keep others safe, and by the spring things should be better.
Fingers crossed, Jill. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the fantastic work you have done this year. And we'll be hearing more about the great work that, as Jill mentioned, NHS staff and care staff and the communities have been doing over this pandemic period. Now, throughout the year, we have been following the residents of Bisden Rise in Wirral.